What is up, Merce Nation? Javier Mercedes here for yet again another Passion in Progress podcasting thing where we talk to people and what they're passionate about and how they're striving in the progress towards that passion. Man, I'm getting way better at that as I go on. Guess what? This is probably going to be the best podcast that I ever come up with in the history of podcasting ever.
This is my show, Passion in Progress. You should check it out if you haven't yet. In this episode, I'm going to take you behind the scenes and show you just how I set up the cameras, microphones, and all that stuff for my podcast. So if you're into that kind of thing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Here we go.
Whoa. This is not a very stable selfie stick. What I like to do on my channel is I like to just give you any and every way possible to cut that learning curve in the video making process, whether that be video editing or video shooting, videography things. I've been a senior video editor for a media company for a while now, and I get to learn something new every single day. So I just want to help out the community with my knowledge. So without further ado, I'm just going to walk you through what I set up for my Passion in Progress podcast. Now, when I do these podcasts, I'm doing video podcasts. The big thing here is the cameras need to record longer than the 29-minute, 30-minute cutoff that most DSLRs do. I found out the other day that you can hack the A7S, A7S II, any of the newer alpha cameras. I don't believe you can, but anything that's like the A7S II below, you can download this software and then you can take out the record limit and record past the 29-minute mark, which is awesome. So now what I do is I have an A7S, there's 2 batteries right here, and that will last the podcast, no problem. It is facing me. I have a 3-camera setup. It's facing me over there. Before I found out that you could surpass the 29-minute threshold of most DSLRs on this, you need to get something like this, which is a external recorder, and then you could use any camera you want. Oh man, I look yellow. External recorder lets you just go out the HDMI into this recorder, and it also doubles as a monitor. So I can record, here, I'll turn this guy on. So I can record on this guy until this little hard drive, this 250 gigabyte hard drive fills up. That's awesome, isn't it? So what I normally do is I try and put the best, quote unquote, the best lens on the guest, because they're going to be the ones talking the most. We want them to look the best. So obviously the background is behind them, and then you'll only see me when I ask questions and things like that. So I put the Sony 55 1.8 lens on there. This gives you a very shallow depth of field, which is awesome. The audience can focus just on the guests themselves. Now we don't have 2 of those, but on this camera we have the 24-70, and that one's just going to be focused on me. I have a black background. That's how it is. On this camera, this big boy, very expensive Sony FS7. Now this can do continuous record regardless, but I have a wide angle lens, if you can see there, that's covering both of us in a master angle. So this one is the Ronin 14 2.8. Does a good job. To be honest, the video quality from what comes out of this lens into this camera is like, I could maybe be using like a point and shoot and also get the kind of same image quality, just because it's not really like, I don't know, it's not lit as well, and it's not really like a good angle, but in order to get a master and get the lights where I want them to, it's just what I use. And it also has a continuous record. It's built to record continuously, which is awesome, because if any of these other cameras go down, which they have already on my Taylor Wood podcast, then this one, I know it's a tank. Like, look at this thing, it's a tank. It's gonna keep recording. So I know that if all of my other cameras go down, this one will keep recording. The actual recording things that I use, right here, we use this SM7B. I have another video where I tested the SM7B versus the SM58, and you can hear the differences between those microphones. I have these going out into the Zoom H6 handy recorder, and then the most professional tip you can do is if you have an extra recorder laying around, please use it. So right now I have going out of the line out into another Zoom recorder, and the stereo out this is just a backup of my actual recording. So I've had this happen, and I can't stress this enough. I know I've said this like on a whole bunch of different episodes, but I have had this happen where the SD card crapped out on my H6, and luckily I was running a backup on my H4n. I cannot stress to you how much of importance it is to run a backup, especially on something like a podcast. Because if you have that huge guest, say you got somebody like a Gary Vee or a Casey Neistat or somebody, like, you better be running a backup, because even if your video was to go down, at least you have that audio. There's the end of my soapbox there. I don't wear headphones during the podcast, but I just have these Sony guys, studio monitors. I feel like they're pretty much a staple. I think they're the MDX whatever. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry. But I checked the levels right before. I found that on the H6 with the SM7B, right in between 6 and 7 is a good level. Another pro tip when you're setting up your podcast, notice how my mics are like this, right? So guest is right here. I'm sitting right here. Now, when I'm looking, man, I look really yellow. Now, when I'm looking at the recorder, what I do is, since the guest is right here, up here, I take that cable and I put it into the volume knob that is over here where the guest is, and then I put my cable, my XLR cable, into the volume knob that's facing me. That way, if I do need to change levels, I know right away that, oh, I'm sitting here, guest is sitting here. That's a very big pro tip. How do I get you off? I guess I'm just gonna look like I'm sunburnt throughout this whole video. In terms of audio things, I find the SM7B to be a phenomenal microphone. One thing about this room is there's a lot of room noise, but when you export it and once it gets on iTunes and everything, I don't really find that the room tone really gets into the recording. Taylor_Wood, that's as if you were like, oh, I would go do this thing. That's her IG handle. That's a plug. My past experience is actually in audio engineering, so I know how to manipulate and compress and do all those things in audio reduction. But when you're doing a lot of podcasts, it's nice to get processes in your workflow to cut down on the work time. So if you already have some presets and things like that, most of the time I end up doing that and throwing that on the channels and then working from there. As for lighting, these divas right here, boom and boom. And that what this grid does right here on the light is it actually focuses the light down to the person. How do I get rid of? And I don't have them turned up too much, because what happens is, like, for somebody like me, and my guest is actually here, so I'll have to cut off the video there. But just know that I use diffused lights on these divas, and those are basically the light that I'm using most of the time. And then these lights kind of fill in. I have lights going down on the background, so the background is lit very well. And then this light is also key because it's providing a hair light for when people sit down. When they sit down, there's gonna be this kind of light on the people's heads, as you can see right there. See how my head is outlined by that light even right now. So that's what you're looking for. I hope you enjoyed this. This is just a really quick video. I'm just trying to document the things that I do in the background, because I know not a lot of people may have access to this kind of stuff. So just know that you can use different cameras and different lighting setups for like a 3-point setup, and different microphones and things of that nature. Don't forget to like, subscribe, live that life of abundance, and thank you for watching the video if you came all this way to this point in the video. Love you guys, bye. Don't forget to check out the podcast, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, all those things. Passion in Progress podcast with Javier Mercedes. That's me. Love you guys.
I feel like he has a lot to share. I feel like he's somebody that the community needs to know, because you're going to be hearing and seeing a lot from this kid. I've always said that I have an eye for talent, right? And it doesn't get any more talented than this particular fellow right here. So I would like to introduce him. Javier, thank you so much.